You're listening to the No Labels, No Limits podcast with best-selling author Sarah Box, where you get the inside scoop on the steps action takers and decision makers take to align their purpose to their principles and achieve their goals in business and life. We focus on the mantra, no labels, no limits, no excuses. Each week, you'll hear from remarkable guests who have overcome challenges and obstacles to succeed in the face of adversity. By listening to their stories, you'll get practical tips, tools, and resources you can implement today to bust through your own internalized prisons of worry and doubt. And now, without further ado, please welcome your commanding coach with plenty of chutzpah and heart, Sarah Box.
Hi there, this is Sarah, your host of the No Labels, No Limits podcast, a podcast all about shedding your limiting labels and beliefs. And so when we do that, all of us can live our dreams and shine our lights in the world just a little bit brighter. I got a question for you. What were you doing when you were 13 years old? Think back. I know exactly what I was doing. Depending on the time of the year, I was either hanging out with a horse, riding with my friends. If it was summer, I might have been at the local rec pool, again, hanging out with friends, and probably looking forward to when I could drive a car. But what I wasn't doing was already wishing and hoping that I could start my life over. So I want you to think about where you were at 13, and if you can even imagine what it would feel like to want to have a do-over on your already pretty short life. Well, our guest today knows something about that, and I'm going to give you a little bit of background on her. We're going to be joined by Jessica Perez. Jessica is the founder, owner, and head chef for Meal Prep for You, her own business. And Jessica did grow up in a very broken home. She describes it as tumultuous. And at 13 years old, she left her hometown to come to Nevada for the purpose of starting her young life over, which is why I asked you, can you imagine it? And that actually was the first of many startovers that led her to where she is today. And today she is a business owner, mother, wife, entrepreneur, and a role model for many others who want to pursue their own dreams and keep evolving. It was her most recent evolution, though, that actually led her to me or me to her, depending on how you look at how you view life. I found Jessica when I was searching for a solution to my own kind of like overwhelmed feeling of taking care of folks who had very, very different health needs and eating requirements. So we'll talk more about that, but I didn't have the energy or inclination to continue cooking separate, healthful meals every night. And at the end of my rope, I just thought, I'm just going to throw it out there to Google and see if there's any solution near me. And in walks Jessica. So we're going to talk about that a little bit too. But I asked some questions of her. I got some more information, and then I just jumped all in and thought, you know what, this could be great. And as they say, the rest was history. So since meeting Jessica, I continue to be inspired, not just by her food, her inspired cooking, but the care and approach that she takes to her business, her clients, to nutrition, and to growing her own team. And I know we're all going to learn a lot from Jessica today. So with that as an intro, let's welcome our guest, Jessica Perez. Hey, Jessica, how are you doing?
Hi, Sarah. I am so good. And I'm just absolutely honored to be here with you today. Thank you for the beautiful intro. I almost got teared up, so I'm trying not to get emotional.
Feel free. You can get emotional. It's all good. And as my audience knows, we like to find out more about our guests by asking them if there is something that you do every day that helps keep you focused on your big dreams and goals, Jessica, so that you don't get pulled in every different direction.
Right. And, you know, for me, it's simple. It's probably a little cliche. and something that a lot of people hear when they think of like healthy people and stuff like that. And really for me, it's just exercise. It's mindful exercise. It's whether it's yoga, meditation, or even in the gym, throwing weights around or just getting some cardio. For me, it's where I find my center. It's where a lot of my ideas come to me. I often have to stop in the middle of a session and, take a note through my phone or something and jot something down because I'm thinking of the next step or what's the next thing I want to do with the business, or maybe it's a menu for a client, something like that. So I really find that exercise kind of brings me just to center. It brings me to my mind-body connection. And that is absolutely key for, keeping calm in the chaos and in the storm that is my life on a day-to-day basis. So I would just say, keeping moving. Again, it's slow movement. Sometimes it's just meditation and sitting for a few minutes, even just in the shower, and really, letting things come to you, and then taking that minute to run out of the shower or soaking wet and, write down your notes real quick so you don't forget, because it's all about when your inspiration comes to you and taking that moment to really capitalize on it. So.
Very cool. I just had this vision of you having a waterproof marking board in your shower, which would kind of defeat the purpose.
If those exist, please let me know. Send me the link, because I'm all over it. That's like literally the best time, between there or in the middle of a weight training or cardio session. So, I never really get all the way through something because I have to stop midway because I'm like, oh, it hit me. So,
all the ideas keep coming. Well, that's what's great about keeping an open channel for inspiration.
Correct.
But, I talked a little bit in your intro that you came here to do a do-over at 13, right?
Yeah.
How did you make your way into Nevada? And did you have a vision for what you wanted your first do-over to look like?
Well, so my dad kind of paved the way for my migration here. He moved here when I want to say I was 8 or 9 years old, left home. And I was living with my mom at the time, and the home situation was not healthy. It wasn't conducive to a proper growth. I had many young traumas that I survived and tried to put into my past and then just kind of forget about for a while. But as I guess a lot of us as adults know, there's only so much you can run away from. And those traumas kind of shape the way you respond to new things in your environment and in your life. And so part of that was me recognizing that my patterns were not going to allow me to be better. It was either kind of like following in my mom's footsteps or just the crowd that I was around at the time that I'd fallen into to kind of keep myself safe. And so my dad was here. I had come up to visit him for a summer break, and he lived on a ranch way out in the middle of nowhere, Nevada, which is now actually way more developed than I remember. But he was just so kind and everything about, I grew up in my very, very early years on a ranch and with horses, and my dad always rode. It was always a thing. We always had horses. And up here I had horses again. I had, just a family environment. My stepmom never really wanted to be a mom, but she was willing to embrace raising me and kind of taking over where things had left off badly with my mom. And so I remember calling my mom. I was in the kitchen of my parents' house up here in Nevada, and I called home to my mom and simply told her, I want to move here. And my dad's deal was, you have to finish out your final year of middle school, and that when you graduate 8th grade summer, you'll move up here. So I did just that. And I remember counting down. I remember my last week saying goodbye to friends. I remember packing 2 suitcases of whatever I could fit that I really wanted to take with me, and jumping on a Southwest Airlines flight. And I got here June 29th of 1999. And I've been here ever since. So that's where it started for me, honestly. But it was the biggest move of my life, and it changed the course of everything for me.
So say a little bit more about how you saw that, or how you see retrospectively how that choice to come here, and thankfully your dad and your stepmom embracing that decision,
right?
How that kind of changed how you move forward, Jessica.
Well, I was bound for a life of either severe drug use, gang member. A lot of people in my past will say you probably wouldn't have made it to 18, So I just felt this calling in my heart that I wanted to be happy. I really wanted to be in a place where I had no history. I had no past. My whole family grew up in the town that I grew up in. And so your name kind of carried a history no matter where you go. And I just couldn't escape it. And I wanted so badly to escape it. And so when I moved here, my parents, got me into some therapy when they noticed that some of my old habits, of course, they follow you, and I didn't know how to be different. That was how I survived up till that time. So going through a little bit of, psychology and a little bit of therapy with a great therapist helped me manage that and become a different thinker, and there was a lot of tough love. Growing up on a ranch changes everything from growing up in the ghetto. So in the city, and there was a lot of responsibility. You're up at 5:30 a.m. to feed the animals and cleaning the barns and the stalls and everything when your friends are off for the weekend hanging out and you're miles away from your, neighbors. So it's not like you can just run away whenever you please, So, and when I moved here, I had an entire summer before I even started school. So there were no connections to even be had. It was a lot of introspective work and understanding this is your new life and this is where you will exist and being okay with that, and I was raised an only child. So that wasn't a shock, but I was now literally by myself at all times. Dad was always working on the ranch, doing something in the shop or whatever the case was. And my stepmom at the time worked for the local college and she had a regular 9 to 5. So, which she actually quit when I started high school and became just a stay-at-home full-time mom, which was pretty awesome. So I had the best of both worlds, I would say, because my trials and tribulations shaped the strength that I have in me to start over and to, just take life, like brush it off your shoulders and roll with the punches. But it also gave me kind of the best of both worlds where I had a lot of love and structure and them teaching me your worth and how to just be strong and change my course and change my direction. So.
Ooh-wee, those are big changes. Good changes.
All at 13.
well, that's a pivotal time in our lives, especially for young women.
Correct.
We're making big choices. So, the timing was perfect and you were brave enough to say what you wanted and your dad listened to you.
He really did. He really did. And he made the right decision by letting me finish, middle school and get the chance to say goodbye to friends and, slowly transition myself to that point. But even then, getting on that plane, knowing goodbye world, was pretty interesting, definitely. So,
well, let's advance forward 20 years. So now you were 13 when you came here, but now 20 years in the future, you're 33, 34, and you decide that you're going to change careers. At that point, you're a CFO in a successful company, but you had gone on your own health journey to lose 95 pounds. And at that point, you chose to quit and become a chef.
Right.
So that was another example of your Southwest flight, right? What prompted you, to quit? And tell us a little bit about this journey of losing 95 pounds and moving towards health.
Well, so I had given birth to my second child, my beautiful daughter. I was 24 years old and weighed at 5'2", over 200 pounds at birth. And remember my gynecologist and doctor telling me I'd only put on roughly 12 pounds during the entire pregnancy. So if that tells you anything, I had an 8.5 pound baby. So there wasn't really a lot of room for, it's baby weight. So I remember I fell into a really deep, dark depression. I suffered from postpartum depression pretty bad. And my body, I had 2 C-sections. I had a tubal ligation during my second C-section. And then the following day had a gallbladder removal surgery. So I just had a lot of trauma done to my body, and I was miserable. I was really unhappy. So I started with, just daily walks, whatever the case was. So fast forward 7 years, and I was roughly around 75 pounds down, and had a friend that's a trainer in California and a bodybuilder himself, and had made his own insane transformation. And he kept telling me, you should compete, you should compete, you should compete. And I thought, no way. After all the work I've put in, am I stepping on a stage and letting someone else judge how hard I've worked for this, and how good I look? I feel great. No way. But the more he kind of bugged at me and the better I looked, the more I kind of got into it. So I started just training in the gym 5, 6, 7 days a week at times. An hour and a half to 3 hours a day, depending on what the protocol was. And then I made my first stage debut in October of 2018. And all the confidence in the world. And I remember thinking, I don't look like any of these girls. I had a homemade bathing suit that I had bought from the local lingerie store that, I zhuzhed up a little bit. I didn't have the right tan. I literally looked like a ghost compared to the other girls, but it was all about taking that leap for me and being scared and really just putting it all out there and saying, I did it. I did this. And I guess like another Southwest flight, right? Of just like, take that leap and go for it. See what happens. I didn't place. I didn't, make any kind of trophies or anything like that, but I just felt so accomplished at the end of that. I felt so empowered to say, yeah, I did that. I stepped so far outside of my comfort zone and I made waves, and I loved the feeling that came from that, the high that came from that. And I couldn't come off of that. So I competed a couple more times the years following that. And so then I was working as a CFO, and I loved my job. I loved the company I worked for. I loved everything about it. But I remember my boss basically telling me his dreams, and what was next for him. And it felt like I was getting settled into, you stay here and manage and run this dream, and I'm going to go do bigger, better things and play around and have fun and be this entrepreneur. And I thought, wait a second, I want that. That's what I want. I want to be able to play around and say, I did this for me. It was the second step to that. So we couldn't come to a conclusion. We couldn't come to a consensus of how many hours I should have been working and versus what I was already putting in and all this. And I just remember one day saying, that's it, I'm done. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know I was going to become a chef. I just thought, I know I can do something, and I know I have the desire to start something big. So just start, just do it. And the first start is walking away from what's holding you back. So there it was, I walked out the door, packed my things. I walked out the door of the office and never looked back. So
yeah. Had you always cooked? I mean, like, why become a chef?
No, I have always cooked. I love cooking for family. Sharing food is my love language, I would say, in a lot of ways. It's a way of showing caring and opening your heart, and you share your table. Jesus shared bread, the Last Supper, all of it. So for me, it's a lot of, it has so much meaning to me. I grew up in a pretty large Italian family, especially moving up here and being with the rest of the family. And, Sunday dinners were a big thing, and making pasta and pasta sauce and the filling and everything, it was all the aunties, all the grandmas, everyone would show up to to take part in the process and enjoy the fruits of your labor for not just one night, but for, freeze it. And for months on end, you could enjoy and have that reflection of this was that time when we all sat and had this moment together. So for me, it's so much more than just cooking, but I had done it my whole life. I had cooked for myself. My mom was a great cook when things were going really good. I remember her Spanish rice was my favorite thing in the world to eat. So little things like that, like I just remember, and I was raised with a very ethnic background. I had a lot of exposure to every background you could imagine, eating Filipino food and Greek food and Indian food, you name it. And I loved all the flavors. I loved the spice. And so I just took that with me. I remember cooking and having a lot of friends and family tell me, this is great. You should bottle this or can this, or, can you make this for me? It's my favorite thing that you make. And so when I hear those things, of course, your confidence builds a little bit. When I decided to be a chef with zero formal background, I thought I when people would call me a chef, I'm like, I'm a cook. Like chefs have had, they go to culinary school, they have all this technical training and stuff like that. I'm a cook. I'm a home cook, and I'm a great home cook. I kind of equate myself a little bit to a Rachel Ray, right? She was never classically trained either, but here she is, this amazing, chef. So, it was hard for me to absorb that for a minute, but I kind of embrace it, and I think, I've done this now for a year. We're going on 2 years almost. So, it was something I just leaned into. I built my business plan and I just stepped into it, took that leap. So
I want to point out that your business, where you've actually been doing this for your business, is not that old. It hasn't been around that long. And it also, I might point out, coincides with the COVID shutdowns. So your business is a food business. We know that restaurants, all of those got hit hard, especially during the early stages of COVID.
Absolutely.
Some of them came back if they pivoted to takeout. Some still haven't come back, or they've come back different. But yours is actually an in-home service during a time where we're on kind of like shutdown. People are getting vaccinated, not back, different stages. So
right.
And yet you didn't go under, you did well. So tell me, who came to you and how did they find you? How did you survive, I guess, is where I'm asking. It's like, as a startup, that is not
right.
my first thought, like, hey, let's start an in-person service when we're not doing a lot of in-person.
Right. I will say for the first 3 months, so I started the business January of 2020, announced my launch like on January 1st, was super excited to welcome my company to the world in a time when everyone's planning their resolutions, right? And I thought, what better way for people to really make that resolution and stick to it and finally see through, to the end of something than to have their nutrition completely not something they have to think about. It's out of their hands. All they got to do is pull that container out of the fridge, give it a zap in the microwave, or, heat it in a skillet, however you please, and enjoy and know that you're reaching your target goals. And so I was super excited. And then along comes, roughly March, April of 2020, and the whole country, the whole world is shutting down, and everyone's, stay at home. And I went through a moment of panicking every time I would leave to go to a client's house. I would think, what if like quarantine happens right now? And what does quarantine even mean? From the movies, you think National Guard and, patrolling the streets. And it's just, you think worst case scenario. And so I was like, I can't leave my house, because then what if I can't get home? So it was even terrifying for me. Right. So there did come a point where I had to basically just kind of close my business altogether. And that lasted for a couple months. And thankfully I had my husband, who was an essential worker as a construction worker, going to work every day and busier than ever, really. So he was able to help kind of float us through those couple months. And then June came around and I just thought, I have a new business and I really can't sit here and wait any longer. And I'm ready to start again. And so I just put it out there on my Facebook and on my platforms, like, hey, if you're ready and willing to come back to us, we're taking all the extra precautions we can think of. We're triple, quadruple sanitizing everything. We'll wear masks, gloves, you name it. I'll do whatever it takes. But if you want to have me in your home and you're ready to, get back on track with life, we are too. And we're here for you. And within a day, I had 4 or 5 clients write back to me going, yep, we're ready. Let's do this. We have dreaded the last 3 months of not having you in the house, and we're tired of takeout, and we're tired of cooking, and please come help us, and it was like, okay, cool. And then from there, the momentum just kind of kept growing, and people were, I guess, really ready to just kind of have some semblance of normalcy back. And you can only eat takeout, right? So many times, or be in your kitchen so many times cooking so many meals. So having me back in their lives with all those extra precautions and knowing that they could trust the person that was coming to their home on a regular basis, I think was key. So, I just made sure to be very open and honest with them. And they were vice versa with me. If anyone was fallen ill in their family or in their household, every precaution was taken 2 weeks, from them and stuff like that. So we just really have been fortunate, I guess, to be cautious, to follow guidelines the best of our abilities, and to let our clients kind of lead the way as to what they thought was the best. We offered a few virtual consultation type things where I would Zoom in with a client and kind of go through the recipe with them when they would cook live with me. I pivoted every which way I could think of. I would still provide menus and grocery lists and instructions and stuff like that, so that people still had a variety. And if they were willing and able to, cook at home, they took it on their own. And then that pivoted into like a whole additional service that I now offer. So it's pretty cool. It was all about the pivot in 2020, right? This is how you sink or swim. And we all know, I guess, now that at this time I'm a survivor. I'm definitely not going to sink. So I'm not going to let that happen. So I did everything I could to just paddle and stay aboard. So
let me just ask this question, because I can imagine putting the word personal chef together. People are listening thinking, okay, there's no way. I'm telling you, people think this because I know what I thought. So I'm just going to be transparent about that. A, there's no way I can afford this. B, it sounds a little bit like over the top, right? I'm a little lazy if I'm not cooking for myself and my family. I certainly have the ability to cook or reheat. And by the way, I'm not sure that's a good investment, whatever. So, but I recognized in my own head all those limiting beliefs. The only reason I got over them was the louder voice was, I am not eating takeout and I am not eating frozen food just because it's fast. I'm committed to staying healthy. And like I said, we've got different health needs in our home. So I thought, it's not a big investment, honest to God. I remember our first conversation when you gave me a price, and I shared it with my husband. He goes, is that per person? I says, no, that's the service for the week. And he goes, okay, so that's one dinner? And I go, no. And so for me, but it was a head turner to go, okay, you don't have to spend a ton to have a ton of value. And I will tell you that we eat, when you come, we will eat off of the 2 different menus, if you will, for the entire week by mixing them up, adding salads or sides or whatever. But, to have a customized gluten-free meal, vegetarian at the time, we had another person living here, and I can be more omnivore, but, I have my preferences of high veggie. So to have that, but I'm just a regular person. So I think I always thought people who had personal chefs were all these famous people, super uber wealthy. Give us a profile of some of your clients without telling us who they are. Like, what are they? Are they family?
I have everything from, entire families, single moms, doctors, CEOs, you name it. It really runs the gamut of my motto is, if you eat, I can help, right? Because if you really just want ease of nutrition. You want good food, healthy food, fresh food, but that literally takes no effort, without going to your freezer, without going to the freezer aisle or DoorDash or, whatever out there, delivery service you can think of. Not using any of those, but not having to think about it. Then I'm your girl. Like that was kind of how I modeled the whole company. And the other part of it was, it doesn't have to be expensive. By coming to your home and providing a menu that includes a grocery list and quantities that I need to complete a recipe, you're able to control the cost of your grocery bill. And think of how many times you've gone grocery shopping with all the intention of making XYZ meals for the week, right? And then life happens and you're too tired and the meals don't get made and the food goes to spoil and you're right back at the grocery store.
Hello.
All over again, right?
I forgot I had those vegetables. Gosh darn it. Now they're science projects.
Exactly, right?
Totally.
The meat's spoiled or it's freezer burnt, whatever the case is, because you were too tired and ordering out was the next best option or whatever the case is. So I allow you to control your grocery bill. Now, all of a sudden, that grocery bill that you were spending anyways gets put to use. Your meals are cooked. They're done for the week. I will say that the biggest opposition I come across is people not wanting to eat the same food for 5-6 days, and so I try to provide as much variety as I can. Like in your case, you guys only have me prep dinners, but I'm able to provide a couple different dinners options and you can use it for a lunch or a dinner. It's whatever is making you guys make that time and effort.
Oh, my friend, I have had some of those dinners for breakfast. I mean, I will say, and I will say that you just take a smaller quantity and add a different protein source maybe, right? But, oh no. And the things that I never would have thought were possible to have, like really fresh, interesting salsas or chutneys to go, those are super flexible. Right. And, it's easy to freeze stuff and then take it later. So, no, I get that. I get that. And if you need a high variety, then you just want less volume. So,
right. Exactly. And so, and it's fully customizable. So the niche, I guess I found was that in the delivery of meal prep companies and stuff like that, it's a mass produced menu. It's kind of a one fits all type situation. I take the time to know each one of my clients' desires, needs, their health, issues that might be a problem, everything from diabetic to high blood pressure, gluten, keto, paleo, you name it. I do my research. I keep myself very educated and up to date on, all the nutritional facts and information that come out. It changes constantly, right? 10 years ago, 20 years ago, eggs were horrible for us. Now it's like your main source of nutrition and protein. So it's, omega-3 fatty acids. So it really, you can never really tell. But that's where I come in. That's where I get to kind of plug and play. And it's my creative outlet. I don't draw. I don't dance, so for me, this is how I'm creative, is in the kitchen, getting funky with stuff, and playing around, and feedback is my best friend, because getting to know my clients' taste buds, their, what really like sparks that interest in them. That's where we find our happiness, So, it's been a great roller coaster for me. It's, had its highs and its lows. And let me tell you, going from a CFO who built and ran businesses for almost 20 years to doing it for myself, it's two different ball games, and no one ever told me that, but that's okay. We're learning as we go.
It is a different ball game. It's a slightly different mindset. But it is super rewarding.
It is. It's the best reward I think I could have ever asked for sure.
So Jessica, I'm imagining someone's listening. They're saying, well, that's all fine and dandy for you, Sarah. You live near Jessica, right? But what about me? I live somewhere else. So I have two related questions. One is, what how would you suggest someone try to find a Jessica like you where they live? Like, what questions would they ask? How might they search for that? Because if you put in chef, you're going to get caterer. You get the gamut.
Right.
So give me some tips.
The chances are, without kind of shooting myself in the foot with growth here, but the chances are there's a personal chef in your area that doesn't have a commercial kitchen that they work out of per se, and doesn't have, maybe they're fresh out of your culinary school, your local culinary program. I found my current team member, Ian, through our local community college. He's a current culinary student, as well as just a lover of all things, food and culinary, and has a great eye for food and recipes. And he's been an incredible addition. But I would say, working with something like that, working with your local college to find a culinary student that wants to kind of hone in on their skills and stuff like that. Be flexible, be open to and willing to eating, 1 or 2 meals a week that you can kind of rotate throughout your day and throughout your week, instead of having a different meal every single day. And especially if you're trying to reach a nutrition goal, or if you're trying to reach a weight loss goal or something like that. I would say, having them only at your house once a week for a couple hours to do that prep makes all the difference in the world of how much that prep is going to cost you. So when you're thinking personal chef, you're not thinking live in, they're there for all your demands throughout the day. We're talking one day, 3 hours in your kitchen, but all the food that you could think of you need for the week is ready at your fingertips. And just be willing to kind of work around that. I do have clients that I'll visit twice a week in order to kind of split their week up a little bit more. Again, it's all kind of what your budget is, what your needs are, your desires are, or maybe you only need 3 or 4 days worth of help, and then the other 3 days you can manage. Think of what your biggest need is. Think of where your hardest meal kind of comes in. That's what I always tell my other clients is, if we don't need to do 3 meals a day, what's that one meal that you struggle to get consistently made for yourself? Is it breakfast, lunch, dinner, daily snacks, whatever it is that's going to just help you hit that target, keep on track, and just really eat healthy, and get rid of the fast food, get rid of the to-go, the delivery fees, all of that, and just have something that's at your fingertips, ready to rock, you controlled what ingredients. It can be fully organic if you wanted, so it's really about taking control of that. So if you have a Jessica in your town, those would be my tips. And if you don't, there's always me with, some tips and tricks of how I can help you get a prep done of at least one meal in really 30 minutes or less at times. So,
well, and I could see using you as a hybrid. Like if I didn't live here and I had a new chef coming out, but maybe they weren't sure about the best meals for our family's dietary needs, I would definitely pay you to write meals for me, right? Like, so folks listening, I'm thinking, what should I ask Jessica? Because I'm wondering, what do we want this week, right? Because I get to pick. And Jessica customizes all the menus. Or if like yesterday, I'm thinking, I don't know what I want, but it's been really cold here. So I go, we're thinking about this. And I'd been thinking about it for a good 45 minutes before we talked. And I even asked my husband, he goes, I don't know, I'm thinking something like maybe a roast. I hadn't even gotten the question out of my mouth, and just goes, how about this and this? I'm going, great. So then the next thing I get is the grocery list, and off goes my husband. Groceries are done. Hello, all the meals are done for the week now, or they will be, because I can smell, as we're doing this interview now, Ian is in the kitchen. I can smell what he's cooking, and I'm getting really hungry, but that will wait until tonight's dinner. So I think for folks, I will say that offhandedly, maybe 2.5 years ago, I joked, I was at a restaurant and I was talking to one of the gals who works there, and we were talking about the food and why does she like, it's a really nice locally owned restaurant. And I said, yeah, that's one of my fantasies, is to have someone who will go shopping for me, not food shopping, but like clothes shopping, go manage all my clothes for me. I don't want to deal with it. And a chef. And after I have that, I'd like a car driver too. And we're laughing, joking about it. Well, today I have a personal chef for our family. And now I'm thinking about when we vacation, and Jessica and I have already talked about this, is she'll just make foil wrap things that we can barbecue while we're camping. I'm going, okay, that takes camping to a whole new level. So anyway, I just would recommend, if you need help, whether it's for a day or two, or if you are a caretaker for somebody, and this was really what pushed me over the edge, for needing support. I have prepared meals with and for my husband for years, because you get with someone, you get in sync, and you kind of know what you want to eat or don't. Are you hungry or are you not? But it's easy to get out of health habit. But when we were also caring for someone else with very specific dietary limitations, it was hard for me because I felt responsible. And I was so happy to give that responsibility to you, Jessica, because then all of a sudden now food without high sodium is really tasty again. I'm thinking, right. Personal chef, low stress, low investment every week. We're buying the groceries anyway. Like you said, it's a matter of putting them together. So I actually think our grocery bill has gone down for the reason that you said. It's like, we're not trying to figure stuff out for every day. And we don't have waste.
Right. And like with your specific thing, we had gluten-free, vegetarian, but Sherm still loves to have
meat and potatoes.
Meat and potatoes, right? So what all you could think of was, oh my God, that's 3 different meals that I now have to, come up with. Whereas I can make a meal that can come together if cooked separately in, 3 different ways or whatever. It comes together with a vegetarian option, a meat option, or a fully loaded, go to meals option for you. And I think that was so much fun to kind of take on that challenge of how we could dissect a couple dishes and make them, separately, but still an individual, a whole course. And you've given me a great opportunity to just really elevate myself. And I'm happy
to be your experiment, because it's been, what it has done for me is it's created a mind shift. Right. And so that, which is, in the work that I do, a mind shift is huge, because once you can envision something, then stepping into it is not that hard. You're just going, yeah, of course. That's not about somebody else. That's about lots of folks. And I'm one of those lots of folks. So, Jessica, I'm curious if there's something that, you want to offer folks. Maybe they just want to have a consult with you or reach out to you. Is there something that you want to offer them?
Well, yeah, my consultations are always free. So if you have questions, if you have, someone in your family that's been newly diagnosed with some kind of dietary limitation and you're kind of struggling with how you're going to approach that, I'm always open to talking with anybody, regardless of where you live. If you would like maybe some tips and tricks personally on finding somebody like me in your town, I would love to talk to you, more about that. It's always free, like I said, and they can go ahead and schedule the consultation times through my website. If you are local, as a special promotion through Sarah's podcast, I'm hoping to reach out with you and, come to your home and meet with you, and you'll get 15% off your preps for the first month that you sign up. So I'm really hoping to just reach out to anybody. We have, like I said, several different package options. They're all fully customizable. You can add, a family member or even a friend onto your prep plan and have them just come pick up the food from you at your house. We do a lot of really tailoring ourselves to everyone that eats, like I said, and, we're willing to keep growing as far as we can reach. I would even say I would love to connect with other chefs in other communities that understand kind of our business model and would like to maybe take that on and find new clients in their town that they could use this business model off of. I still provide the recipes, the grocery lists. All you have to do is cook. So
Sweet.
really excited for the opportunity to have this outreach and to kind of reach more people. I will say, just recently, there's a fitness competition coming into town next weekend. And I was contacted by two of the competitors that will be here for the competition next week to do a prep for them for their meals for those days leading up to the competition. They all have very tailored, specific dietary needs, that they have to eat with. And so I've apparently already reached all the way to Muncie, Indiana recently. So really excited for that, and just, excited to be their meal prep gal and kind of get into, the networking of that whole situation. So yeah, lots of opportunities, lots of big things, happen very quickly and just in the blink of an eye. And this opportunity, couldn't have happened at a better time. So
no, and I love the opportunity you may open up for other people to think about, whoa, this could be, maybe it's possible for me if I'm a newly trained chef, or I'm someone who's a really great cook that loves cooking and wants to grow. There's just so many opportunities for connecting with you. And on that note, what are the best places for people to find you online? How do people reach you?
Okay, well, we are on Facebook. It's Meal Prep for You by Jessica, and it's the number 4 and then the letter U, no spaces between that. And we're online at www.mealprep-4 and we're on Instagram as well, Meal Prep by Jessica. And so, yeah, you can reach out on any one of those platforms. You can schedule consultations right through our website. You can take a look at our packages. You can read my backstory, see my before and after photo. And yeah, I really look forward to it. You can call, text, my information's on each one of those platforms. You can Google or Yelp me as well, like Sarah did. And it's just really important that you put in the meal prep in the number 4, the letter U, and you'll find me pretty easy. It's a unique name. So,
and we'll have all those links in the show notes. So if you're not where you can grab them right now, or you didn't quite hear them, they'll be in the show notes. So you can just go to those and get your hyperlinks there. Jessica, I am so, I'd say happy. I just enjoy getting to know you more and more over the months. And I love having someone cook. That's not me.
I'm so lucky you're local. I'm so lucky you're in my hometown, and that this, has blossomed into such an incredible relationship. And I'm very, very grateful for you. That day you reached out and just said, you know what, I can't do this. It's just driving me crazy. Please help.
I think those were my exact words. As professional as I wanted to be, I think in email I said that. And then when we got on the phone, I kind of just went, oh my God,
This is real. This is really
I think my real frustration came out because you were so thoughtful in the questions you asked. So, and then it lasted for 10 minutes, and you had a solution, and here we go.
And here we are, right? And here we are. So again, thank you so much for the opportunity to be on your platform and to reach your listeners. And I really look forward to emails, phone calls, text messages, any way you guys want to reach out to me, any of the questions you have. I'll be happy to dig in, research, whatever I've got to do, and be there to help. So
she means it when she offers it, folks. So reach out. And with that, I'll talk to the rest of you next week on the next issue or the next episode of the No Labels, No Limits podcast. Jessica, love you, sister, and I'll see you soon.
All the love. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Bye.
You've been listening to the No Labels, No Limits podcast with best-selling author, change agent, and strategic vision coach, Sarah Box. You can grab the show notes and find out how to work with Sarah at sarahbox.com/No Labels, No Limits podcast. We'd love this podcast to reach as many people as possible. So please remember to rate, leave a 5-star review, and share the podcast with someone you think would get value from this conversation. Until next time, keep taking those daily action steps to align your purpose to your principles and achieve your goals in business and life.